started. Welcome everyone. My name is Christina Brown. I am a teacher with the Florida School of Holistic Living and will be offering the Finances for Herbalist class on January 30th at 10 a.m. So today what I'm doing is a mini class for the Finances for Herbalists offering in a couple weeks. My background is in accounting, finance, and HR. So I have a bachelor's degree from Florida State. Sure, I absolutely will. So my background is in accounting, finance, and HR from Florida State. I have a master's degree from Penn State University in human resource management. And today we're going to discuss the finances for herbalists, and with that talk about the considerations for starting your business, some considerations for building your business, and then a couple of tax deductions that you may want to include for the 2020 tax year. So again, this is just a mini class for what will be discussed on January 30th when we talk about not just finances, but everything from a holistic perspective. I'm the founder of Trident Consulting, which is a consulting firm that partners with entrepreneurs and businesses in managing, advising, or planning their business and their aspirations for building and growing that business. So with that, it's a holistic approach. It's not just getting very technical for things that go over heads, but finding a way of making complicated topics more simplified for the average person. We all have our gifts, and most people's gifts is not accounting or finance, and just trying to find ways that we can partner together to navigate the process as simply as possible is really the goal for today, as well as the goal with our businesses when we're operating and starting them. So when you're starting a business, the first thing you want to consider is trying to refine your idea down. We all have many gifts that we can offer our community, but we have to find that bridge of what can we offer, what is it that our stakeholders and our clients want, and making sure it's something that we can brand ourselves in. We don't want to offer too much at one time because it could then cause confusion and be an overwhelming situation for our clients. And I bring that up in relation to finances because when we're starting a business, we all are seeking some level of profit. And in doing so, having something that you're specialized in generally leads to an increase in revenue sooner than when we try to overstretch ourselves, trying to offer everything that we can give to our community versus refining it down to where we're most passionate. With businesses, if we think about our favorite brands or our favorite providers, they're generally very specific in what they offer, which allows for you to be more loyal to them and then slowly can branch out from there once you have that following and have those stakeholders and clients that are then loyal to you. Writing a business or a strategic plan is something that you would also want to consider when you're starting your business, or if you're in your business and you have one, updating that. Writing down those goals makes a difference in obtaining those goals. So we all know when we write it down, we can then manifest our desires. And with that, it assists us in meeting financial goals. It assists in having a clearer picture of how to manage finances. And there is a strong correlation between being organized and how our money is managed. So when you're more organized, you're a lot more aware of where your money is going. You're a lot more thoughtful about how your resources are spent. And you're also able to then identify where you can get the resources you need if you're seeking funding from investors or a bank. Then another consideration is the legal business structure that you have for your business. There can be financial consequences if you choose the wrong business entity or if you delay the process of formalizing your business. So when you first have the idea of starting a business, or if you are already selling a product or service and are not formalized, I advise in trying to determine the best legal structure that fits your needs and fits the service or product that you're offering to mitigate any type of financial consequence down the line. For instance, many times as herbalists, we offer our products to our community and we may not formalize right away. And so we're selling items, but we're not really protecting ourselves. If there was an unfortunate event in which someone was to get sick or decided to pursue any legal action, there's no separation between your personal assets and the product that you're selling. So having a business entity and having one that meets your needs becomes a financial situation if there was something that did occur. And also when you're considering the cost of that, looking at what is the cost of maintaining that legal business entity becomes important. Once you have decided that, registering that is the next step. So registering with the federal government, so in our case, it's the IRS, then registering on the state level, every state being different depending on where you are, and then on a local level. So here, I live in Florida. So here in Florida, the city of Tallahassee does not have any requirements for registering a business. However, if you were located in Boca, the city of Boca does. So when you're considering setting up the business entity, understanding what are the filing requirements for where you are from on a local, state, and federal level is crucial to ensure that you remain in compliance. And one of the mistakes you want to mitigate is if you were to not register on time and later down the road did, there could be a financial consequence for that. So many government entities will then fine you in arrears for not registering on time. So when we think about these legal considerations and we think about business planning, there's always a money component associated with that. And so keeping a holistic perspective and view of finances when you're considering your business or considering things that you offer really can make the difference of establishing a strong foundation for yourself and guaranteeing your success in the long run. So when you have your business and you're building your business, things that you want to consider is one, creating a strong team. Initially, it's easy to do everything and want to do everything, but as your business grows, your time becomes a lot more precious. And having people that specialize in areas that you're able to let go of can make it easier to work on your business and not in your business. So, for instance, when we think about bookkeeping, most people hate doing their books. You want to be informed on how to do them. And for the first few years, it may not make sense to have a bookkeeper. But having a structure in place or having someone that can show you a solid structure can minimize your time that is needed for actually spending once a year trying to get it together. So having a system in place, and then when you get to that juncture of needing someone to assist you, knowing to let go of that bookkeeping and let someone that's better at it do it. That way you can spend those late nights and early mornings trying to better your business versus trying to do something that's not of passion of yours. So creating that strong team, having someone that supports you in the areas when that time comes can be less expensive to you in the long run because the time spent on administrative items or on items that aren't passionate to you is time not spent on your business and growing that business and supporting the business. So initially, yes, I am all for doing it and I'm all for making sure that we don't spend money unnecessarily. But when you get to the point of needing to outsource, I always advise in doing so. That way you can stay off of the hamster's wheel. Knowing when to work on your business is also important. So when you're most productive can relate to how money is spent in the business. So if you know you're most productive in the morning, if your mind is most sharp in the morning, use that time to plan your business, to plan for your business, or use that time to put into your products or your services. I always advise having a schedule of when you're going to look at how the business is doing, where are you trying to go, and matching that with that business plan or strategic plan to ensure that you are on the right path for where you're trying to go. There is, again, financial consequences when we consider when you don't spend time working on your business and you work in your business, the business can stall for years to come. So how are we making sure that we create a plan that matches what we need and it's realistic? If you're also trying to access financing, one thing you want to consider is how much money do you need? Where is that money going? And then where's the money going and how are you going to get it? So if you know in the beginning that you're going to create a product-based business and you need $5,000 to do so, is that just a number that came out of the sky, or is it something that you actually documented? What we want to refrain from is 6 months down the road, we realize the $5,000 needed really was $7,000 needed, and now there's a gap between you actually getting to the point of selling to a consumer. After having the number, how are we getting the money? So trying to determine what's the best route can save you more money in the long run. If you need $7,000, are you going to seek an investor? Are you using savings? Are you going to a bank? We want to refrain from making decisions that could be more expensive in the long run. So for instance, if it's only a couple $1,000s and you say, I'll put it on a credit card, but then you don't pay the credit card off, are you paying a 20% interest rate for something when you could have gotten a loan for the bank and you're paying a 4% interest rate? And over time, what I have seen is when we don't have things planned and written down on paper, my clients end up paying more in interest. They pay more in bank fees or overdraft fees because there wasn't a plan. It was something that was rushed into because they had a great idea and they wanted to move forward, and they didn't consider where the money was going or where the money was going to come from or how the money was going to be spent because they didn't have a business plan. So having a plan, having a timeline, and knowing where we're getting the financing from, what does it look like? How much time can they actually give to the business to make sure that they meet the goals? So when you're thinking about the financing part of that, what does that look like and where is the money coming from? Even if you're getting the money from savings, what is the long-term goal? We don't want to exhaust our resources, and then if something unfortunate or unforeseen happens, we're then in a situation of trying to have to scramble to get back to a safe financial position. So remaining organized with your planning, remaining organizing with your time and your resources all equates to you being more ready to manage those finances. So when we talk about what we're going to discuss in the class on the 30th, we're really going to take a holistic perspective and looking at specific considerations for your business. How can we get into looking into bookkeeping and how we can be organized if you're not ready to use a software? What are the alternatives to those softwares that we can use instead of using QuickBooks, which is the primary system used for small businesses? We'll look at financing options and the ways of doing that. With the pandemic, what we've seen is when there's the PPP money, and which has just opened again. So if you have a business and you have not applied for a PPP, or you have and you're still in need of funding, that is something that's available. But what has occurred are there was a lot of people that weren't ready to apply for the loan or the forgivable loan or even the grant money because they didn't have financials. They didn't have the reporting needed to be able to do so. So having these things in place really does equate to being able to access grants, accessing funding for these unforeseen times. And now that we're here, we really don't know what the next few years looks like. So having that in place makes it easier to then respond quicker when opportunities arise. So some of the things that we want to consider for our taxes, since it is tax season, which we'll also discuss in the class in a couple weeks, are deductions that you may not be as obvious. So we talk about having your dedicated office space at home. If you don't have a physical location and you're working out of your home, you may be able to write off part of your workspace at the house as a tax deduction. The difference when you have a business versus personal is there's a standard deduction when you have a personal tax return. So right now, the current law is it's about $12,000 roughly for an individual. which is a very high threshold for most people. So if you don't have $12,000 in itemized deductions, you get the standard deduction. So your mortgage interest may no longer count, or things of that nature, right? But when you have a business, and let's say you have a room dedicated to that business, and it's 20% of the square footage of your home, you can now write off that 20% square footage of the mortgage payment as rent to your business. And it counts automatically because there's not a standard deduction for a business. There's only a standard deduction for an individual. So being able to write off things that you would not be able to write off if it was just a personal expense is always a great way of trying to lower your taxes as a business. And so it's something you're already spending money on. It's just an added benefit now that you can lower your tax liability or increase your tax refund because it's money being spent, and it's something that is actually utilized for the business. So when we talk about the office space, I mentioned writing off part of your mortgage or writing off part of your rent. But we can also take that same thought process to your utility bill. So if you're using 20%, the business is also using some of those resources from that utilities in order to operate. Use that as another deduction to lower your taxes. Same thing with internet. If you have to have internet to run your business, you can write off your internet expense. And even your phone. If 50% usage of your personal phone is for your business, write off 50% of that expense as telephone expense under the business name. That way you can reduce your tax liability for your earnings. Another thing to consider is software subscriptions. We have a lot with COVID. There's a lot of everything's going online. So those subscriptions may become more beneficial if you have things for hosting online classes. If you have advertising on social media, we want to organize our expenses to make sure that those are recognized as deductions when it's time to file. So having a system of recording that throughout the year and then being able to give that, if you're filing yourself or if you're giving that to someone else, having it organized to give to your preparer is crucial. And with a business, the easier you make it for your tax preparer generally equates to the lower fee that they will charge you. If you give them the box of receipts and you're like, figure it out, thank you for your help, it may be simple for you, but it may be costing you money if they're charging you for effort and they're charging you by time. You're now putting more of an expense on someone else versus having an organized system and working on it throughout the day. So again, the goal being we want to work on our business and not just working in our business. As the entrepreneur and a business owner, we want to be able to have resources that will enable us to focus on what it is we provide to our clients and not just be on a hamster wheel where nothing is getting done and we're not able to continue to improve what we offer to our clients, what we offer to our stakeholders. So with that, I really want to just say that the class on the 30th is going to be one that is really informative, but it's not going to just be numbers heavy, but it's going to be something that we talk about on a holistic level of how can we really manage our business to ensure that we're able to lower our costs. And staying organized it does equate to lowering costs because now you're more aware of where your money is going. You're now aware of the resources that you have. And we're also going to ensure that we have things recorded properly. So when grants are available, when funding is available, we're able to utilize that. And again, any financing with the bank or credit union generally requires some level of a business plan. And when they're looking at the business plan, yes, there's the market section and there's a section about the executive summary and the section about the management, but they're going to hone in on those numbers because they want to make sure that the risk they're taking isn't too great. So doing your homework isn't just for you, it's for financing purposes. It's for your clients, whether they know it or not, because if you know where you're going and you know where you want to grow, and what you want to offer, and you know what it costs to get there, it allows you to then ensure that you don't spend more than what you need to spend to get there. And it also ensures that you're prepared to be able to offer the service within your means in regards to what you expect for it to cost. So before I log off, are there any questions regarding anything related to the Finances for Herbalists class on the 30th? Okay, well, I really hope that you were able to learn just a little snippet of what we'll be able to talk about in a couple weeks. And I really look forward to seeing everyone then. And I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye.